you need to forgive. But instead of forgiving, we swallow a pill. Sometimes sickness is telling you, you better relax, you better rest, you are working too hard. But instead of relaxing, we swallow a pill. Sometimes sickness is telling you, you trust God. Do not worry. Do not be anxious. Surrender your life and your future and your cares to God. But instead of trusting God, we swallow a pill. And so what happens is, we get worse because we do not listen to the message. We kill the messenger, and we do not respond to the message from our soul. Are you listening to me? And so, how many of you want to be healed? Listen to me. 85% of all diseases are rooted in your emotions. And your emotions impact your health in a terrible way in two ways. How many? The first way is when you have too much negative emotions. Everybody say, too much negative emotions. The second way is when you have too little positive emotions. Everybody say, too little positive emotions. Let me give you an example of what I mean by too much negative emotions. Let's say stress. When I was a kid, I remember that my father would ask me to massage his shoulders every night. And I liked that. Except that sometimes when I would go behind him and I would, start massaging his shoulders, it would last for about 1 or 2 minutes only. Because his shoulders were as hard as steel. And even as a kid, I knew it was tension. It came from his job. He was a manager of a big food company, and he would come home tired. And then my mother would tell me that he had hypertension. As a kid, I asked my mom, "Mom, what is hypertension?" And she told me, "Mataas ang kanyang high blood." Ang taas mo. And I would remember that my mother would always take his BP. I remember that my mother would always massage the back of his neck, batok, tama ba ako? And then my father would have this pain, and he was hypertensive. But you know what? He had it all his life until he reached the age of 65. When he retired, I remember I went. He was in the dining room, and so I went behind him, and for good old time's sake, I massaged his shoulders, and immediately I noticed the difference. It was soft, it was supple, and I said, "My gosh!" And you know what? My father went to heaven at the age of 88. Do you know that all his life he had hypertension, and it vanished at the age of 65 when he retired from his company, and he decided just to serve the Lord all the way until he was 88. Hypertension vanished. Why? Because stress vanished from his life. He just was so busy serving God. There's a finding of many doctors now who believe that the type A personality causes heart disease. Everybody say type A. Type A means you're aggressive, you are always rushing, you are easily angered, you're competitive, you're controlling. That's a type A personality. And they've noticed that of all the people who have heart disease, 82% who have heart disease have a type A personality. I want you to ask the person, I want you to tell the person, mag-type B ka na lang. Type A, I believe, is not a personality. Type A is a spiritual disease. I believe that. How many of you know this? That there are more people who die out of a heart attack and stroke on Monday morning than at any other time and at any other day of the week. Do you know that? Why? What happens on Monday morning? People go back to their work. People go through their stress. There's this one woman I know, she likes her job except the boss that she was working with. And she really had this big, huge conflict with her boss. And it went on and on for many months. She wanted to go out of her job, but she could not. She decided just to take a 15-day leave. And she enjoyed her 2-week vacation. But then, on the 14th day, when she knew she had to go back to her job and see her boss again, she had a massive stroke. Today, that woman, her body is paralyzed. Half of her body. It was almost like her body is saying, I don't want to go back to that job anymore. Half of her body says, but I have to. And so her body is paralyzed. And if you like your boss, you're one lucky person. And I hope that, stress is a killer. Friends, am I making sense here? Another emotion negative emotion that you've got to be looking out is anger. Everybody say anger. I remember the story of this man. He was in the living room reading the newspaper when he heard somebody knocking on the front door. And he opened the door. There was no one there, but then he looked down and there was a snail. And the snail said, "Can I borrow 100 pesos?" And the man frowned, and he said, "Get out of here!" And he kicked the snail out of the porch, off the porch of his house, and slammed the door. 1 year later, the man was reading the newspaper in the living room when someone knocks on the door again. And he opens the door. No one was there. He looked down, and there was a snail. And the snail said, "Why did you kick me?" Many people are like snails. They keep their anger for the longest time. I want you to know that your body was designed by God not to carry stress and anger for a very long time. Your body was not designed for it. Your body was made by God to trust and to forgive and to love. And friends, please understand this. I really believe, they have this, I was reading this research, this test done on 2